Oh, here we go. 9 o'clock.
Hello, we are live. Hello, everybody. Seth is back this week.
You missed me. Please tell me you
I
missed me.
did. I genuinely did.
I missed. Honestly, it's been a really long few
I
weeks,
I was keeping
and
up
so
with your
tell me, because I did not get to keep up with the pod. Who were my substitute guest hosts? Were they worthy?
Well, first was Matt,
Oh,
and
okay.
then
Well, obviously he's gonna be
yeah,
fine.
and then Quinn came up for the
Oh,
second week,
awesome. Yes. Thank you, Quinn. I appreciate that.
and we kind of went off the rails because we both,
Shocker.
yeah, no surprise there. And then Brooke closed out your absence.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, all of you, so much for filling in for me. Yeah, Fringe Festival really kicked my butt this year. I got through 66 shows, so
Yeah.
66 unique shows. But some shows I saw my wife's show 3 times. There was one show I saw 4 times.
Oh, wow.
So I probably saw well over 70 shows, maybe 75 shows.
I'm tired for you. I
I
kept seeing
know.
your posts on Facebook like, here are the next 10 in
Oh,
my
and
review
it
set.
was crazy because I had to keep I had to keep like on top of my editor because at one point it was like they were like 25 behind.
Oh,
And
no.
I'm like I some of these shows are going to have their last performance before you get around to posting it. So please come on, because I was knocking them out.
Yeah,
Like
you were. Yeah.
I wrote 25 before the festival even started, and I finished. I think I ended up at like 52. So yeah, crazy,
You are
crazy.
unbelievable.
I can only do it once a year. Once a
and then
year.
you're spent.
And
And
I am fueled. This year they had these cocktails in a can.
oh, no.
So it was normally liquor in a can is terrible, but this was actually really good. It was whiskey mules
Ooh.
with ginger beer and bourbon in a can, and those kept me fueled for like I oh my God. I need to detox before I have a doctor's appointment, that's for sure.
I love a good mule. I wouldn't be able to resist. Let's say hello to everyone in the chat. Derek and Anna, hello. Thanks for coming. David, hello to you. Michael is here, of course. Meeting coming up on Tuesday to finalize a new deal for a new place in
Yay.
Orlando.
Congratulations.
Good luck
Well,
to you.
welcome to the jungle.
Good
Hey, Rod.
evening to you, Rodney
Hey.
and Christian.
Hello. Cut one. Yes, that's the name of the company that provided our cocktail cans, and God bless them. They got me through Fringe.
That's all we can ask for. But we are just over, we keep bouncing between 51 and 54. So I
See,
say,
I can't even see that anymore.
what the heck?
I don't know.
You you leave for too long and it decides you're not in charge anymore.
I've I've never been in charge of anything. My wife will attest to that.
All right. Well,
Let's do it.
all right. In three, two. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 90 of the Attractions Podcast. I'm Brittany,
And I'm Seth.
and we're here to talk to you about the latest and greatest in theme park news and more, as well as what's going on in our own lives. And a small round of applause for Seth, who is finally back.
I survived. I hope you all missed me. If not, I'm sure send in letters, and Quinn or Matt, I'm sure will be happy to take over full time. No, I really miss you guys. It's been a long 3 weeks without you and without theme parks. I
Yeah.
made one extremely brief visit to a theme park, like since practically since I went on Velocicoaster, and I thank you for holding down the fort while I was busy with the Fringe Festival.
Tried my
Yeah,
best.
60 something shows, 50 something reviews. A lot of whiskey mules. It was a long few weeks, but I'm really glad to be back. and excited to be getting back to the world of theme parks. And so, what have you been up to since
Well,
I've been gone?
well, it started to finally warm up here, and we're kind of following suit of Florida with mask rules and things kind of
Mm-hmm.
mellowing out. I went to a store without a
Mm.
mask for the first time,
Ooh, yeah.
which felt extremely strange.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like a jerk mostly, but I mean, I'm vaccinated. It was
Right.
fine, I guess. It's just like getting over that
Yeah.
emotional traumatic hurdle.
Yeah.
We went to a lot of like markets in town.
Mm.
And then I've been reading a lot, and I just bought tickets to go to the movies for the first time since well, technically since February of 2020, because the last
Okay.
thing I saw was a advanced screening of Birds of Prey. But I haven't bought tickets since Rise of Skywalker in 2019.
Wow. Okay. Well, that was well before the pandemic. So, let should we have a contest to guess what the very first movie that's going to get you out of the house?
Yeah, if you want to, go ahead, guess.
Well, since it's theme park related, I'm going to guess the Jungle Cruise.
Um, no,
No, no,
no,
that was a
no.
terrible guess.
Well, I would have, to be honest, I would have gone to the movie sooner, but Disney sends me screeners of things, so I
Sure,
don't have to go.
sure.
Um, but no, try again.
It's not Cruella.
No, I saw that already.
No, okay. I don't even know I know there's a James Bond movie that comes out this year, and past that, I have no clue what's actually coming out. Oh, Black Widow. Black Widow? That's my
No,
last guess.
no.
All right, all right. I'm
In the
stumped.
Heights. In the Heights.
Oh, see, I have HBO Max, so I'm very excited to see that without a room full of people trying to sing along badly.
See, so do we, but I really miss Alamo Draft House. So,
Oh, yeah. I guess if I could go and see it at the draft house, yeah, a couple pitchers of beer, and I might not be as annoyed by people trying to sing along badly. I might even be trying to sing along badly. So
we're also
that's a good
all of the
solid choice.
yeah,
Yeah,
all the
solid choice.
showings up at like the first weekend that it comes out were sold out unless you
Oh
wanted to
wow.
sit in the first two rows in front of the screen, which is a no-go for me. So
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
we're actually seeing it on the 14th.
Oh wow. Well,
Yeah,
good for them. I mean, good for the movie. Now, do you know if that theater is back to full capacity?
it is
Or
not.
no? So that
Yeah,
that probably that probably is part of the reason why.
yeah.
Yeah.
They still, the way that Alamo does it is you book your party's tickets, and then it blocks off two buffer seats around your party
Mm.
to
Oh
separate you.
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah. So they really should be charging you like for an extra seat, to
I
just have
only
no one sitting
paid,
next to you.
it was like $24 for two tickets. Like
That's
it,
nothing
yeah,
for the Alamo Draft House.
for the
Wow.
Alamo Draft
I'm
House. Yeah.
so sorry that their plans here in Orlando seem to have been
Yeah.
pulled. It's such a shame. Such a shame. Brian in the chat said last night in Soho. I saw the
I
trailer for that.
I
That
wanted
trailer
to
is
talk to you about
crazy.
it so bad.
It's the production design is just so beautiful. I didn't really get that it was a horror movie until like the very, very end of the trailer. But it's Edgar Wright, so even his horror movies are funny, and his all of his movies are kind of cross genre. So
I'm so interested. I made a whole list of like Italian horror on Letterbox to like go through for research.
nice.
So I'm prepared for it. But oh man, it's just so stylistically cool, and I love Anya Taylor-Joy. And Thomas and Mackenzie was in Jojo Rabbit, which I really
Hmm.
really liked. I can't
Yeah,
wait. I'm so
that
excited.
one might get me out of the house to see that one.
I'll be sitting out front waiting for tickets to go up, I think. We got a super chat, woo! From Corey927. Spread some pixie dust and make the Boo Bash ticket prices
Oh,
lower.
if we had that kind of power, we would not be doing a podcast.
We are
Oh,
not
I
miracle
wish.
workers, my
Yeah,
friend.
that's you're gonna need a lot more than pixie dust to do that, but we really appreciate your support. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much. And John, listen, I Warner
Aw,
Brothers doesn't have me on the list. Um,
I'm gonna have to wait till it comes on HBO Max,
yeah.
like us normal people.
Normal people.
Normal people. Well, I actually never call myself normal.
No.
That's not right.
All right, let's get into the news.
News.
Okay, I'm super excited for this. Nintendo is moving into the physical experiential space with the announcement of a museum, which is so cool.
Like I needed another reason to visit Japan.
I
When I
just keep
finally
adding
get
to
there,
my
my trip is it's just adding another day, another day, another day of the trip. There's uh
just block off like a month.
yeah.
This new museum, tentatively being called the Nintendo Gallery, is set to open in a former manufacturing plant in Kyoto by March 2024. They expect for it to end at the end, to open, sorry, by the end of fiscal year 2023, which is in March 2024. And they're going to fill it full of the many products that Nintendo has released across its history, along
It
with probably
it
some other crazy cool things.
it's going to be a room after room after room of pachinko machines and trading cards, and then one small closet devoted to Mario and everything else.
It's going to be a museum of just
No,
virtual boys everywhere.
virtual boy. Oh, everyone gets a virtual boy on their way out.
Oh my god! And everyone gets a barf bag after. What I think is so cool is that the building, at least this rendering, is kind of stylized like their offices in Japan, which I think is super neat because the public doesn't get to go there. And this is like the closest you'll get. They
Maybe
haven't
it will be
said
like a factory tour where you literally like see people just programming and assembling switches, maybe
the Switch Pro
stuffing
E3
little
is
Pokemon into balls and making them go in there.
yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah.
um, I'm so excited to see if they say anything new about this. E3 is starting next weekend. So Nintendo closes out E3, so we won't know until the 15th, I think, if they say anything at all. But I'm very excited. Another reason to go to Japan.
Yep. But don't book your tickets quite yet because they've just sort of given a financial year that it's going to open, so it could be a while.
Yeah. And behind the attraction, we heard about this a while back. Dwayne Johnson and his production team, $7, we're working on this sort of docu-series that explores the history and the makings of all your favorite Disney theme park attractions. And nothing was really said beyond that. I think that was around when Disney Plus first was getting pitched and started that the news of this came out. And in the recent issue of Disney 23 magazine, there were a few more details shared about the show.
Yeah, I think the kind of the coolest thing about this is that it's being produced by the same people who did the Netflix series The Toys That Made Us. If you haven't watched that, get onto Netflix. That it goes through things like Transformers and G.I. Joe and Star Wars toys, but it does it in such an interesting way, full of facts, lots of great interviews, but also edited and produced in a really slick and exciting way. And I just I just binged my way through all of those. So I can't wait to see what those same people can do with the story of Disney rides, because a lot of some of these rides you could probably do a whole series on the one ride. It looks like there's going to be 10 episodes, I believe, at first,
Yeah.
with about an hour per episode. So, that's definitely going to be more room to go in depth into these individual attractions than the previous documentaries that we've seen on Disney Plus. And I'm what's a ride? They've told us a few rides. We know Jungle Cruise is going to be in there. They
Yeah.
mentioned Star Tours. They've mentioned It's a Small World. What's a ride that you would like to see them go? Really dive into?
I would like to see some defunct
Mm.
stuff, not to pinch off Kevin Perger. But I would,
Little Horizons maybe, or
yeah, because I am finding actual footage of Horizons is hard.
Hmm.
I would love to see some whatever they have in the archives left of that thing. Um, Anything really that is closed. Because I mean, we've seen what was I think it was in the Imagineering story that we got the Matterhorn with Bob Gurr walking around in the basketball court.
Yep. Yep.
That story's been told a million times. We could skip that one. Maybe Space Mountain, perhaps, or some of the international rides, like Mystic Manor, would be cool.
Oh yeah, I would love to
Yeah.
see one on Phantom Manor,
Oh my God.
because that's my
Yes.
favorite of the Haunted Mansion variations, and it's got such a great backstory. And personally, I would love to see something on the Indiana Jones adventure,
Ooh, yes.
because there's so many interesting design decisions, from, the fact that you have that incredible elaborate queue just because they had to put the show building basically in the parking lot, to the infamous falling ceiling effect, which like no one remembers. Like I think fewer people actually experience the falling ceiling effect than actually experience the moving Yeti in Expedition Everest.
Whoa.
And so if they had like dug up some good footage of that, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm also interested to see how involved The Rock is. Like, is he going to host it or just do a VO,
Hmm.
or is he just like putting his name on it, like producing it, and that's it?
Yeah, I mean the way they've pitched it, it sounds like he's going to be the face of it in some way, and I think it's cool that, well, first of all, he's another one of the elite group of people who are in both Universal and Disney attractions, um, but it's kind of cool that he's upfront about being a theme park geek, just like the rest of us, and I think he's going to be a fun host for this.
Yeah, I can't wait. Um, According to the article from D23, the show is supposed to premiere later this summer, but no specific date
Hmm.
has been shared. So just keep an eye out. They release the content schedule for Disney Plus monthly. Adventures by Disney has announced a new New England vacation, as well as a handful of new private adventure destinations for 2022.
Yeah, so New England includes Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, and I bet there's going to be a lot of water activities around the coastline there, probably some historical and cultural activities. A lot of great food up there, a lot of great foliage, especially if it's during the fall time.
Ooh, yeah, I bet it'd be beautiful. And some of the private adventures, I believe there's an England one. And these are kind of more flexible experiences
Hmm.
designed for a smaller group of travelers, led by a private adventures guide. And you can kind of be a little choosy with your dates, a little bit more so than the traditional Adventures by Disney experience.
Yeah, I mean, the regular adventures by Disney are still very well curated and, not huge, gigantic tour groups, but the private ones are definitely VIP treatment.
Yeah. Warner Brothers Studio Tour Hollywood is reopening on June 26th.
I have never gotten to do this one, but I've got this trip. I'm going to be in the Los Angeles area in July, and I'm going to see if it's possible to squeeze in a visit, because I've heard good things about this tour, and it sounds like they've made some cool upgrades to it.
Yeah, I've never done it myself either, but I've always wanted to. They've added two new interactive things: storytelling showcase and a finale called Action and Magic Made Here. And storytelling showcase is kind of a way to travel through the history of Warner Brothers film in its animated and live action pictures, and you get to take an aerial stroll around the studio lot, which is kind of cool.
I,
Um,
I think you can pretend to be Godzilla and like sort of stomp around miniature versions of the iconic sound stages. I don't think they like it if you actually breathe fire or step on them,
All right. So when you go, you're going to have
though.
to pretend to be Godzilla and film it, and
Yep.
then we'll show it on here. And then for the Action Made Here finale, guests can experience the DC Universe superheroes and Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts interactive props and experiences and photo ops, which is fun. And some of the DC props include vehicles from the films, like the Tumbler from Dark Knight, the
I
Batmobile,
would go there just to see the original Tim Burton Batmobile.
right?
That would make the trip worth it for me.
And we've got some Batman v Superman and Wonder Woman 1984 props if you liked those movies, as well as the costumes worn by Jared Leto and Margot Robbie in Suicide Squad 2016, and as well as some things from Aquaman, Zack Snyder's Justice League, and Joel Schumacher's Batman and Robin. Do not disrespect that one. That one's good.
And for Harry Potter fans, it's not exactly the Forbidden Journey ride up the road at Universal, but they do have some recreated sets from the Wizarding World films. Some cool photo ops. You can pretend to be inside Harry's cupboard. Or you can be in like a storm of flying Hogwarts acceptance letters. There's some cool places to take selfies. I think there's a new bless you, new upgraded Sorting Hat ceremony, so you can get a picture with the Sorting Hat and get sorted into your proper Hogwarts house.
I love the flying letters one. I would love to do that one. And then, of course, at the end of the tour, you get to pretend you won an award, take a photo with some iconic props and costumes from Warner Brothers award-winning films, like jersey worn by the late Chadwick Boseman in 42, a miniature blimp from Ridley Scott's Blade Runner.
That's what I want to see.
The trombone from 1962's The Music Man.
There's just one of them, not 76.
Yeah. And then there's also a brand new Warner Brothers studio store filled with all the merchandise you could want, plus a personalization area where you can get a wand engraved or get a replica award. And as far as I know, this and the Harry Potter store in New York are the only places you can get wands engraved.
Yeah. They don't offer that inside the Wizarding World right now, so that's a cool thing. I wonder if you could take your wand from the Wizarding World there.
Yeah, that would be.
Because I believe that they don't have the interactive wands. They sell the non-interactive replica wands.
Yeah. So if you're interested in checking this out, it'll be open on weekends from June 26th through July 11th. And they will also offer tours on July 5th. But starting July 15th, the studio tour will operate 5 days a week. So
closed on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, so don't show up then.
Yeah.
And make sure you have an advanced reservation. Don't just drive up. You got to plan this one in advance.
Yeah. So write that down for your trip. Universal Studios Hollywood is hiring.
Speaking of the other studio up the street,
they are looking to fill more than 2,000 roles this summer across a bunch of lines of business.
We're going to see a lot of things like this this year. I mean, Universal here in Florida is hiring too. I think pretty much all of the theme parks, and you're hearing a lot of theme parks talking about cutting back hours because they can't hire enough people.
Yeah.
So if you are looking for a job, you want to get in on the ground floor in the themed entertainment industry, now is a great time, because if you have a heartbeat and you are willing to show up, they will take you.
And some of those roles include...
Heartbeat may be optional.
Oh. And now we're going to see like animated corpses checking people out of merchandise locations.
Zombies need work too.
They do.
They can't all be on The Walking Dead.
And it just, Georgia, you have to relocate and everything. Right. They will have seasonal, part-time, full-time, and professional roles in areas like attractions, entertainment, guest relations, park services, wardrobe, retail, parking, and food.
Pretty much everything you can
Everything.
imagine. If there's a job, there's someone out there for and there's a job there for you there.
Yeah, so if you're interested, head to our website and learn more. Over at Dollywood, they are taking over with summer celebration and a new drone show.
You know, Intel did a drone show a few years back for Disney, and it was
Yes,
just
I remember.
magical.
I
Uh,
liked it. Yeah.
and it was brief. It was a short-term Christmas thing. But I've been waiting for one of the parks in Orlando to, do something like that on a bigger, more regular basis. And here's Dollywood beating them all to the punch. Um, yeah, it's part of the 60th anniversary celebration,
Yeah.
um, and it is being called Sweet Summer Nights.
It's happening every night from June 25th through July 31st. And I believe it's in the Wildwood Grove area, which is just beautiful if you haven't been.
Hmm.
The tree itself comes to life very similarly to the Tree of Life Awakenings, but it's filled with butterflies, like fiber optic butterflies. And Dolly tells you like a nice little story that is kind of like the backstory to the land that you're in. It's very cute, but I can't wait to see what they do with that plus the drones.
Right. And if you haven't seen one of these drone shows before, you can look them up. We've got some on our YouTube channel, I believe. Basically, 400 of these little flying miniature helicopters that are remote controlled by a computer. And they can all cycle through different colors. So they form different shapes. They flash, they blink, and create butterflies and other creatures in the air. And it's really kind of spectacular. It doesn't really sell watching a video of it, but when you see it in person, it's pretty amazing. It's like watching a constellation dance.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite parts of the one that they did at Disney Springs was watching it transition from different
Mm-hmm.
shapes.
Yes.
It's so cool. And then watching those shapes move, like reminding you that it's not just like a 2D thing, but a three-dimensional
Yep.
figure. Oh, it's just like it makes your brain scramble. It's so cool. But this will start on June 25th, and I'm sure we will have video to show you when that rolls around. And more Dollywood news, they have just announced a new accommodation, the Heart Song Lodge and Resort, set to open in 2023, adjacent from the Dreammore Resort and Spa.
This is part of almost $500 million expansion. They're talking about pouring $500 million into the Dollywood Resort area over the next 10 years. And while we don't have an exact opening date or prices for these rooms, this hotel looks an awful lot like the Wilderness Lodge to me.
Yeah, it does.
That's the first thing. It was like, a slightly more modernized, especially when you look at the kind of cleaner, lighter colors that they're using in the lobby. But
Mhm.
very similar kind of design, the way it wraps around this natural-looking pool, this kind of old Craftsman Lodge look to the design of it, even the giant fireplace with stone. Yeah, totally gives me a Wilderness Lodge vibe, and that's a good thing because that's a gorgeous hotel.
Yeah. I can't wait to see more of this come to fruition because I love Dollywood. I love Dollywood so much. And I've never gotten to stay in one of their on-site hotels, but this one I would make an exception for, I think. I love Wilderness Lodge.
I really feel one of these days I'm going to have to plan a trip to Dollywood, and I think I'm going to have to stay overnight because, it sounds like with the park adding all this stuff, you could probably get 2 full days out of it.
Yeah, you'll have to go try the cinnamon bread
You get
and
2 days of eating out of that place, I think.
yes,
Just eating and shows. Without ever getting on a ride, you could probably fill 2 days.
the food is so good. I could,
Yeah.
I love Dollywood. Universal Orlando is celebrating the upcoming Tokyo Olympics with the new nighttime pre-show ahead of the cinematic celebration.
Yeah, Cinematic Celebration, I think, is already one of the most underappreciated nighttime shows. First of all, it's the only one right now that's running on any sort of regular basis. It's only weekends right now. But it's always had great fountains, great lasers, some fireworks. I won't say great fireworks. But by adding on this 5 minute pre-show, it really kind of fills it out and gives you an extra reason to check it out. I'm just sorry that it's not running on weeknights quite yet, but I believe that it's going to start running on weeknights starting, I believe, after June 16th.
Hmm. And then alongside this new pre-show, they've added food tents over by Music Plaza stage with Japanese food, including takoyaki, which
Hmm.
is one of my favorite
So
things.
I'm a Japanese food addict. I sampled some things. I had the rainbow roll, which was like a perfectly adequate supermarket quality sushi roll. About as good as I get from Publix. I'll
Yeah.
fine, no problem. The takoyaki is one. It is not takoyaki because it's made with ebi. It's ebi yaki.
What?
It is, yeah. There is no octopus. Which, after seeing, if you've seen my octopus teacher, you might not want to eat octopus anymore. Shrimp don't have nearly as much personality. I will say, as someone who loves takoyaki, these ebi takoyaki were excellent. They had a
Okay.
very similar flavor, same seasoning, but a less rubbery texture, which I
Okay.
think a lot of people who are kind of turned off by the pencil eraser texture of octopus would like these a lot better. The only thing that wasn't crazy about was that they didn't cover it in bonito flakes, and I love the shaved bonito that they
Yeah.
traditionally put on it. But the dried fish is a little much for some people, so they're probably smart to go a little easy on that. I thought actually they were really good. I had a nice cold sake.
Ooh.
Um, and there's still noodle bowls to try, a couple other items. I'm real happy and that this is sticking around all the way through the Olympics that don't wrap up until August. So
Yeah. Well, eat a bunch of takoyaki for me. New details have been shared about the Disney After Hours Boo Bash. That's this year's Halloween offering in place of Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. It starts on August 10th and runs on select nights through August 31st, but it is separately ticketed and not what quite comparable, I would say, to Not So Scary in offerings, but in price,
I
certainly.
yes, they have shaved, cut back pretty much everything except the cost. When I got to the end and I saw the dollar amount that they've put on
Woof.
this, up to the Halloween night price, I believe is
$200.
$200
$200.
for 3 hours. And it used to be, at least with the Halloween parties, that you would get into the parks in mid-afternoon. But
Yeah,
now
like
you're not
3 or 4.
yeah, now you're getting into the park at 7 p.m. So a absolute maximum of 5 hours of entertainment. And that entertainment is not going to include the Hocus Pocus show, which I think a
No.
lot of people love. It's not going to include, a special parade. It does going to have the cavalcades, which is basically a parade that's been miniaturized and chopped up and randomized. So great, you won't be standing on the curb waiting for the one and only running of the parade, but you also won't be waiting for the fireworks because they're not going to happen.
Yeah.
And while there are going to be some exclusive or rare characters that are going to pop up and say hi, they're not going to have queues to take meet and greets with them. So you're not going to be able to get your selfie, your close-up photographs or autographs.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And I'm also afraid, you get some free food and drink. There's also food and drink for sale. But,
Yeah.
having visited the parks lately and seen how, as they've increased capacity in the parks, the rides are pretty much up to full capacity. But food and beverage is hurting. They simply don't have enough people staffing food and beverage. So you're seeing increasing lines. I'm terrified of paying all that money for a party and spending an hour waiting in line for an ice cream bar. So this
It's
is a tough one. Like if you
yeah.
are missing Disney's Halloween so badly, and you saved the money you would have spent on Halloween last year in a jar, and it's burning a hole in your pocket. More power to you, but I don't see that this is a good investment.
No, I mean the free food and drink is one thing. They're bringing back trick or treating for this. Trick or treating was not a thing last year. You can dress up in costume if you want to, um, but it just doesn't seem worth it for the price. If it were like $100 less, which they would
Well,
never do, but
well, we'll get to another after hours Halloween event that costs significantly less a little
oh
late
yeah,
here. So I mean they're making a choice to set the price at this level.
yeah,
I don't think that it's costing them $150 or $200 per guest to keep the gates open for an extra 3 hours and hand out some candy and ice cream bars.
yeah.
I don't think the cost that they are charging is anywhere close to their marginal costs on this one. So this is a good, this is going to be great profit for Disney if it works out. But if keep an eye on those ticket sales, because I have a feeling normally we would see sell out, sell out, sell out right away for this kind of
Like
event.
day one when this is announced, and
I
this was
have I
announced
have a
on the
feeling
second.
I think there's going to be, uh, some diehards are going to buy in, but I don't think you're going to see this selling out nearly as
Mm-mm.
quick as you would a real not so scary party.
I have to agree.
Yeah.
Over at Magic Kingdom, one of the new revamped scenes on the Jungle Cruise has been unveiled. This one's called Trapped Safari.
It's so
Uh,
funny because I was on the Jungle Cruise the day before this went up,
oh no.
and it was probably the worst Jungle Cruise experience I've had
Oh,
in decades.
tea.
Posted wait of 40 minutes, actual wait just under 80 minutes. Um, and there's so many big chunks of this ride. This was just the rhino and the hyenas staring at a crate, a
Yeah.
box with a tarp over it. And the hut that is next to uh, the guys with the drums, the natives dancing around in circles looking
Yes, they
for the
lost the
bathroom key.
bathroom key. Yeah.
That's all gone. The natives themselves are still there, but they're no longer moving. There's so many. The Trader Sam at the end obviously has been torn out, and his new hut is up, but it's all covered over. So many major show scenes of that ride in Walt Disney World are just missing right now. To know that I missed at least, if I had suffered through that and at least gotten to get a picture or video of the new scene, it would have been worth it. So I was 24 hours off.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, the sculpt on these new figures, it's not a radical change at all. I mean,
Mm-mm.
it's pretty much very, very true to the spirit of the original. But the sculpt on this guy is just perfect. He looks like he could have stepped out of any of the classic Mark Davis attractions like Haunted Mansion or Pirates. He's got that kind of cartoonish exaggeration, yet it's still realistic.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't wait if they make all the other new figures they're building for this that good, then I will be very happy with the way this renovation turns out. But right now, the way they're handling it, Disney World, with doing it piecemeal in front of everyone, it's pretty ugly for people who don't know what's going on and are maybe riding the Jungle Cruise for their first and only time. To just see all this empty stuff or half done stuff is kind of chintzy.
Yeah. I love that you can see the sheen of fear sweat on his face.
I mean, it's such a great the paint on that figure, the finishing of it is just spot on, and it's such a great design. I mean, the face is so dynamic.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, can't wait to see the rest of it.
Yes, I'm really interested to see what other story things that they implement.
Hmm.
Hallowscream is coming back earlier than ever to Busch Gardens, Tampa Bay this fall for 28 killer nights of scary stuff.
Yeah, and this time, some years that they only have one new haunted house. This year they've got two new haunted houses, plus three that are coming back. And they have 8 scare zones. And the thing with Busch Gardens Tampa is that park is so spread out and so wooded that the park is practically a scare zone even when there's no one in it
Yes.
at night. And it doesn't take a lot. It just takes a couple people in the woods shaking a tin can at night to make that place scary.
They will also have 3 unpredictable hordes roaming through the park. So, as if, the scare zones and the wooded areas were not enough, you're going to get the bejesus scared out of you by someone surprising you in a horde.
Gotta
They
watch
will
out for those hordes.
they will also bring back fiends to the festival field, which they did for the first time last year, and it seemed to go well. I watched a video of it.
I saw it. I was out there, and it was an extraordinarily socially distanced venue. I will say that it was like several football fields lined back to back. I had to
Wow.
I I had to like needed a telescope just to see what was going on the stage. And
Get some opera
I mean
glasses.
the Fiends show. If you liked the old Bill and Ted show, but you wanted fewer licensed characters and less sophisticated jokes, then Fiends totally up your alley.
All right. They will also have the Rolling Bones playing cover songs at Dragonfire Grill. And when when I think about that, I think of the skeleton band in the villains parade at the very end on Maleficent's float. That's what I think of. If they're not skeletons, I'll be really disappointed.
They're probably just people wearing those skeleton costumes like Daniel San had in The Karate Kid.
Maybe one dressed
Oh,
like Mick Jagger or
oh,
something,
all right.
like a zombie. Tickets are
Yeah.
on sale now, and this event will run on select dates from September 10th through October 31st. And there are discounts if you have the fun card or an annual pass. But you might want to hold on to your coins
Here it
because
comes.
SeaWorld surprised everyone this
I
past
will
week.
say I think it's a brilliant marketing move. I did not see it coming. They
Yeah.
had sent me an invite and said it was an Electric Ocean announcement event. So I said, no, I've got other things. I've been to Electric
Oh,
Ocean. I'm
and then,
okay.
oh
As I
no.
said, I had other things to do. I passed, and apparently I missed out on a huge surprise, which is that for the first time ever, Howl-O-Scream, which has been seen at other SeaWorlds
Yeah.
around the country, is going to be at SeaWorld in Orlando. I guess traditionally they've sort of said, all right, Universal, you can do your Halloween thing. We'll be in Tampa doing ours.
Yeah.
But this year they're maybe they saw an opening with not having Halloween last year, that there'll be lots of pent up demand, and they want a piece of that. So it's going to run from September 10th through October 31st. And I think that, we don't really know much about what it's about. There's some sort of siren theme. There's going to be haunted houses and scare zones and probably some sort of entertainment. We don't know how much, we don't know what kind, we don't know where it'll be exactly. But what we do know is the price, and they are seriously undercutting Universal, everyone else, on these prices. Depending on if you go on, I think it's on a Sunday night during in September, it's $30. That's insanely cheap for an event like this. Uh, Even when Dark Harbor came into town and did their event at the old Nickelodeon Hotel
Yes.
a couple years ago. I don't think that their prices were that. I mean
I want to
that's
say like
insanely.
$50.
I mean, even if you spent $30 and you just went in and rode Mako and Manta in the dark a couple times, you got $30 worth of entertainment right there.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it almost seems like a loss leader just to just to undercut Universal. And you can get a combo ticket, so you can see it both in Busch Gardens, Tampa, and SeaWorld Orlando for $80. That's cheaper than one night at Halloween Horror Nights.
How much is Horror Nights this year? Do you know off the top of your
I mean,
head?
a regular, if you just walk up to the gate, a Halloween Horror Nights ticket basically costs the same as a one-day park ticket.
Ew.
And even if you are an annual pass holder, I think the cheapest one night is still uh, not much less than $100. You know, I think that they're into $90 territory or so for. Obviously, there are frequent fear passes and things, and they haven't announced, I don't believe, anything
Anything.
like that for this. But I mean, if you go for $30, you know, for even $40, that's an incredible deal. Even
Yeah.
if it's, you know, even if you just hit one or two haunted houses, if you can just ride those roller coasters in the dark, that's worth it.
hmm And then it doesn't have any haunts, but Disney's After Hours Boo Bash cheapest ticket is $130. So
Wow,
yeah,
wow, that's, I mean, and and
yeah,
keep in mind, SeaWorld also, I believe they're still gonna do their Spooktacular, which is
yes.
their kind of not so scary kids Halloween events, but those are daytime and those are included in regular park admission. So you could spend a day at SeaWorld and go to the SeaWorld After Hours event for less money than spending just 3 hours at Disney's After Hours event.
That's the tea.
Yep.
If I had a Kermit drinking tea graphic, I would throw it up there.
And thank you, John, for the confirmation. $89 right now is the annual pass holder one night for Halloween Horror Nights. So yeah, that's. I mean,
That's
I don't think, especially their first year out of the gate here, I don't think we can expect them to have the kind of budget, you know, kind of intellectual properties, any of that that they have at Halloween Horror Nights. But there'll be booze, there'll be scantily clad people scaring you, there'll be some loud music, there'll be more booze,
and it's open till
and
1 or
people
2
going
a.m.
boo, and it's yeah till 1 or 2 a.m. Yeah, well, I think it's 2 a.m. on Friday and Saturday, and 1 a.m. on Thursdays or Sundays.
There you go. What more could you ask for? But that's everything that we had for news in the queue this week.
We're
And
done. All
for
right, we can go.
yeah, just pack it up. No, I'm just kidding. We still have the
What
main
did
attraction.
something else happen this week in the world of
Yeah,
theme park? What did
well,
something
you
happen?
weren't here,
Oh,
so
was it?
nothing could happen while
I'm
you were
not,
gone.
no, I didn't miss anything.
It's time for the main attraction.
Yes, the big what is it, Quinjet shaped elephant in the room that is Avengers Campus opened this past weekend, and we have our very own Joe who was
Joe.
there to tell us all about it.
Hey, thanks for having me on today.
Welcome. Thank you. I'm glad you survived your encounter with Avengers Campus. You've not been sent to the raft.
I have not. My arms are still a little sore from the web slingers thing. I think I almost pulled. I gave myself tennis elbow, whipping
Did you
around.
stand too close to the Hulk tree? Do you have some gamma radiation?
I missed out on that. Thankfully, the Pingo Dolce I had wasn't spiked with Bruce Banner's blood either. So
Right, cool. um, yeah, so you were able to go to the media preview of Avengers Campus for us, and you got to do basically everything except for some of the cocktails, and then you had an interesting experience on Spider-Man.
yes.
So let's start with kind of the overall theming of the land as you
Sure.
walked in what did it feel like? Did it feel immersive to you? Because the only thing we really have to compare it to is Superhero Island at Islands of Adventure.
So I think if you're talking about that comparison, this land, Avengers Campus in Disney California Adventure and Superhero Island and Islands, has two different takes on what it means to be like a Marvel attraction right now. Obviously, Superhero Island is more of the cartoon version, the straight out of the comics, bright colors, things. Avengers Campus is more realistic, I guess is the word I want to say, as realistic as a land where you go into outer space and its hour and fall while a raccoon plays the hits of the 70s, 80s, 90s, and today. Can be. But it's definitely more muted and like feels more in the real world. I will also preface this by saying, since it was a media day, a lot of the background music of the land wasn't playing for when I was there for interviews and things like that, which made it feel a little, I guess, more sterile is the word I want to say than I think it normally would on a day. Also, I was, as I said a little earlier, since we were doing interviews and kind of doing press in with the COVID restrictions in California, I was one of maybe 4 press members in the land at the time, which was cool, don't get me wrong. But again, this is a land that kind of thrives on people being excited and the kinetic energy of people moving around, which wasn't there. I also did not get to see any of the live entertainment. So they weren't doing the Doctor Strange show, which I was really looking forward to, nor the stunt show with Taskmaster and Black Widow. And it took me 16 tries to say this right on the day I recorded. So the Dora Milaje, I believe. I might have nailed it. I don't know. But I also did not get to see that. So,
Close enough.
Did you get to see a robot Spider-Man flying through the air?
So that was the other thing. I didn't.
What?
Yeah, they didn't show that for us during the day, but they did provide us with kind of, the same visual clip that they've been showing people back and forth. I'm really excited. I do have park reservations to go back at the end of this month, and so I'm really excited to try and catch that thing in action because it looks incredible. So, yeah.
Yeah. I remember seeing it back before we even knew it was going to be Spider-Man. And I could definitely, that is a robot. My brain could differentiate that, but seeing it in the spider suit and just the way that it kind of flails its arms out, it kind of makes you question what it is. Yeah.
They've nailed the little human-esque aspects of how you would bend your knees if you were doing that, or where your hands would go. And it's really fascinating to see that.
Raise a glass to the late Grant Imahara from Mythbusters, who helped develop that. Glad that they were able to carry that out to completion. So speaking of Spidey, all right, I gotta jump in and ask because for me, the Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man at Islands of Adventure is still one of the top 5 dark rides, themed rides ever built. How is Web Slingers? How was your experience?
Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man, it is not, but it is still, I will say it's still fun. It is the Tom Holland energy, that version of Peter Parker is one that I really enjoy. I mean, I'm an old school Tobey Maguire fan, but I think Tom Holland does a really nice job with the character, and you can feel that throughout the pre-show, and then when he is on screen in the ride, you get that same kind of feeling, and I think it captures that really well. I wrote it by myself, so it was fun for me to kind of do the arm motions, everything. I can see being in a car with 3 friends, or even a friend and you're competing against the other side of it, or things could make it even more fun because I'm a very competitive person when it comes to theme park games. So I could see that being a lot of fun. I will say I was a little disappointed that it is almost all screens. And if it's not a screen, it's a static kind of Spider-Bot webbed into the wall or something like that. I would have liked to see a little bit more, realistic sets, even if you were doing with it like they did over on the redo of Tower of Terror for Guardians, where there's a physical set and then the screen is back set a little bit, so you have more of a feeling. But that was a little disappointing to me. But other than that, it's a fun ride. It's not the same as the Spider-Man ride in Universal. I think anyone who goes in expecting that is going to be disappointed.
Have you been on Ninjago at Legoland?
Okay, so you are literally, I want to say, the 15th person to ask me that same question about this. I have not, but I have heard. I have a friend who has a young kid, and they've gone to the Legoland out here a couple times, and he was telling me, it looks exactly like Ninjago. Based on what he told me about that ride is not as accurate with your hand motions as Spider-Man is. I felt that this was pretty accurate.
With Ninjago, I think it just sees that you're flailing in a general direction. As many times as I've been on it. But I will say the one thing that Ninjago has is actual physical scenes in between the screens with physical props that react to your motions.
And that's what
this doesn't seem to be doing much to blend the line between the screen and the set. It's pretty much one or the other.
Yeah, I think that's really the failing here, is that there was an opportunity to have like some things happen around the corners and things while you're moving between show scenes, and it's just not there, and I think the ride feels a little flat because of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I was talking to Josh, my boyfriend, earlier before I had seen a ride-through video, and he was like, watch it have props at the beginning, screens, and then props at the end. And then I watched the ride-through video, and he nailed it. That was basically what it felt like. You had the Heimlich stripped vehicle at the very beginning, and then it was just screens. But yeah, I was under the impression that they were going to do kind of like Navi River Journey, where it had lots of detritus and like layers to it with the screens, and it just kind of is like Toy Story Mania. I saw that comparison being thrown around a lot.
I mean, as soon as we saw the building permits a few years ago and saw that it was basically just shopping, supermarket aisles up one way, down the other. There's not a lot of depth in there to add anything. It's actually a pretty tight layout.
I do wonder how many people, because obviously people like us, we have looked into this ride, we've seen like the previews and things like that, are expecting that Spider-Man robot to be a part of the ride and not just outside of it. Because I can see people being disappointed that that's not something that happens in the ride or something like that.
Yeah, it almost seems like there would be a good spot to put an animatronic just before unload.
Even like Roz at the end of the Monsters Inc. ride at California.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
I imagine something like in It's Tough to Be a Bug, where Flick kind of pops out from the ceiling. You could do Spidey hanging upside down, and then he like zips back up or something.
Are there any
there is
tactile?
A show... Oh, sorry.
I was just asking. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, that's not me.
Sorry.
I was going to say there is a little show scene when you are starting that shows the spider bots crawling through the air ducts. But those are done as screens as well, and not everything like that either. So, yeah.
I was just asking, are there any tactile effects or other things that we can't see in the videos? Like, or is there any physical simulated motion, or is it pretty much just sliding and then staying still in front of the screens?
Pretty much just sliding. The vehicle does jostle a little bit as you are kind of flipping, but there are no, let's say, like heat effects or wind effects or anything. Now, I will say, again, for the media preview, because they were recording me for it, some of the background music and the banter between Spider-Man and I don't think it's Friday. It's the woman AI. I don't think it's the Friday from Stark. They were turned off during the ride cam thing, so I didn't hear that until I watched another ride through afterwards to see. Oh, there is some more to that. So
yeah, needs a good fireball.
Yes,
every Spider-Man ride needs a good fireball.
I think every ride is improved with some fire.
Some liquid splashing, like when they break apart and like. Something, anything.
I think that they should just spray silly string into the car so that you can't come out covered in web.
Yeah, honestly, I think even just there's a scene in there where you are flipping webs through the PIM test kitchen, and there's not like that's a perfect opportunity to have some sort of like baking bread scent or something like that down there. And there's nothing.
Pretzel smell. I want a pretzel center. Yeah.
You'd probably move more pretzels that way.
Absolutely, I'd buy a pretzel.
That makes me wonder, like I don't know, maybe the budget was really constricted and a lot of stuff had to get shaved off.
Well, we do have an e-ticket, which will come in Phase 2, and we know that Disney always builds Phase 2, right? Phase 2 is never, ever canceled, so
and I think
should be coming.
That's the thing that this land feels like is even with Mission Breakout right next door, which I think is over 6 years old now. I might be wrong in when that
opened in 2017, I think.
Oh, okay, so it's less than that. Okay. But regardless, that's still at least 3 or 4 years old. It does feel like it feels like Galaxy's Edge before Rise of the Resistance opened, where there's some cool food, there's a small ride that is maybe a little disappointing, and the vibe is fun, but you feel like something's missing. And I think Obviously, with everything that went on in the last calendar year, and now not knowing whether that e-ticket is going to happen, it makes it feel like there's a parking site.
I almost feel like if they had held off the conversion of Tower of Terror to Guardians of the Galaxy now, and they had opened the exact same Guardians of the Galaxy, but opened it now with everything else, people would be talking a lot more positively about the
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It would feel more complete, I think.
Yeah, but I don't know. Everyone took Guardians kind of for granted at this point. And it was wild to see the response go so quickly from like, oh, I'm excited for this to this is disappointing. Galaxy's Edge at least took a little while before they started to say that they were disappointed with it.
Well, I mean, honestly, no one really goes to a theme park for the rides. We got to talk about the important thing, which is the food and the drinks, because that's really taking Instagram pictures of your food and drink is the reason that you spend all that money on a theme park ticket. So, what did you eat, and would you buy it again?
So I had the I started off my morning with a Impossible shawarma, which is the falafel version. And that was really good. It's a pretty good shawarma. Like, shawarma is a food. There's a lot of Mediterranean, Middle Eastern restaurants where I live, and so it's something that I get fairly regularly. And I think this was a pretty serviceable version of it, especially for a theme park. And so that was a real winner. It comes with I want to say tzatziki. I might be wrong on the type of sauce that you can dip it in, and that was also really good.
Nice.
At Pim's, I was able to try the not so little chicken sandwich, the atomic pretzel, which is the one covered in buffalo chicken and mozzarella cheese and things like that. I had the cosmic cream orb, I think it is called, which is going to be from Terran Treats, which is over by where Mission Breakout is. And then I had a glass of the Pingo Dolce, which is the citrus soda that's featured weirdly in the Edward Norton Incredible Hulk more than anything.
Which is a Universal picture,
it's a Universal
and not
movie.
Owned by Disney.
It's the Incredible Hulk that they just don't talk about, so I thought it was interesting that they made that their beverage kind of focus.
We do not speak of the Edward Norton film.
I'm sorry, Edward who? That's Mark Ruffalo. Of those things, I really liked, the chicken sandwich was really good. We seem to be living in a chicken sandwich renaissance right now, and I'm pleased to say that Disney has their part. It's big. It's probably big enough to share, which I think is kind of the fun thing with this whole food concept they've done. There's a lot of shareable plates here, which, you were talking about the Boo Bash prices a little bit. It's kind of rare that Disney gives you something that's made for you to split the cost with someone else instead of, the atomic pretzel was really good. The pretzel isn't like the rest of the pretzels you might buy around Disneyland or California Adventure. This is kind of, I guess, artisanal is more the word I'm saying, as pretentious as that sounds. It's a little denser, and so when you are eating it with the chicken and everything, it almost tastes like a deconstructed sandwich on like a pretzel bun, which works really well for it. I loved the cream puff. It had a raspberry cheesecake flavor profile, which I wasn't expecting from it. I just kind of expected maybe like raspberry chocolate or something like that, and that flavor is really good and really interesting, and so it was, I think, my favorite thing that I ate that day. And then the Pingo Dolce is also really good. It's kind of like a Mountain Dew Mallow Yellow, but it's a little crisper and a little lighter than overly sweet, and I think it works really well. So,
Mellow Yellow or Mountain Dew always has like a kind of oily coating in the back of my throat.
That's what I was missing. Yeah, I didn't have that, which I think is a good thing. So,
I have to ask, a lot of the food offerings, they feel really heavy sounding, and like the thinking from like a theme park perspective, like you're going to this park for 8+ hours in a day, and you go and have this giant chicken sandwich,
and then go on Guardians of the Galaxy.
Did you feel like that was kind of because they're annual passes right now, so it's not like you can just pop down to get a bite to eat.
I mean, that's the other interesting thing. So, funny enough, I did go on Guardians of the Galaxy right after I ate the chicken sandwich, and you are right. I didn't stumble out of it, but it was close. It was no, it is definitely the Pym Test Kitchen, and especially the bar seating area over there seems to be a lot of, they want to siphon off the crowds that go to like Carthay Circle, and no, it's Lamplight Lounge, which is over by the pier, as another place for you to sit and have have a drink, and that's kind of, that's what a lot of the APs do for California Adventure. That's the festival Epcot of the West Coast, basically.
Of course, there are no APs there right now. And it also brings up something else, which is merchandise. A lot of this merchandise seems to be specifically designed for people who are going to come back to the park again and again, and specifically ride web slingers again and again. But we've got a system now where you have a chance to ride it once per day. You know, for the foreseeable future, no one will be riding it more than once a day, and a lot of people won't even get it to ride that one time a day because of it's basically a lottery is what the virtual queue system is turned into. So, what is the merchandise appeal, do you think, in this land for people who are not necessarily going to be able to ride the ride over and over again?
I mean, I will say there's three big pieces of merchandise that I think are supposed to be to kind of go back the Instagram piece, the thing that you buy and you take pictures with it around. But aside from that, there's a lot of like really cool looking Avengers like home goods and shirts and things like that. There's a bunch of nice Spider-Man shirts. There's backpacks and things for the kids to kind of give it that campus feel. I did see on the rack, and then someone pointed out there's a recreation of the water bottle that Tony Stark is drinking out of in Avengers. That's like blue on the inside and white on the outside. And I thought that was kind of a cool little touch to make it look like a screen use prop. Nice. But the big things are obviously the spider bots that you can purchase and then customize with plates that look like, it's Black Panther, Black Widow, Iron Man, and then I think there's one more that I'm missing.
Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Ant-Man and the Wasp, that's what it is. And then you can put those skins on it and then battle other spider bots around the land or at home and things like that. But again, I don't know how many people are going to run out to grab one of those if they didn't get the chance to ride the ride, and they won't be able to bring it back.
Right. I think they're kind of going for the crowd that is spending money and the Droid Factory to make little customized R2-D2s. But everyone knows what an R2-D2 is. Exactly. No one really knows what a spider bot is unless you've
I will say, ride. Outside of the Web Slingers building, there are a couple spider bots webbed up on the walls outside, so you still get to see them if you were in the land, but true, you don't get to
there's no pre-existing familiarity with the character.
And are those static, or do they do anything?
They actually are remote controlled. They are. They give you you have a little remote, and they kind of skitter around, and they can fire laser blasts at each other. They can self-destruct. They can kind of like crouch down and come up. It's supposed to be kind of like almost like a battle bot situation, which is very cool. And from what I understand, the other skins give them extra powers. So like the Iron Man one makes the laser blast more powerful.
And I'm assuming they also interact with the web slinger toys that interact with the ride, or are they completely separate systems?
I was going to say, as far as I know, they don't. The web slinger and the web power band is specifically for the ride, and then as the merchandise vice president that I talked to told me for role play afterwards as well. I will give those a little bit of credit. They are cooler than I thought they would be. The Iron Man repulsor and the rescue one do shoot out air puffs that you can balance like a ball on top of, so it does have a little playability at home.
Okay.
And the Spider-Man and the Ghost Spider, which I think is what they're calling the Spider-Gwen variation of it, does shoot out like a little, where's my arm in here? A little rope that comes out to make it look like a web is being flung, and then it retracts back in. So it does look a lot cooler than I thought it would. It wasn't just there's an RFID chip in here and it'll read it on the screen, and then you do that. So yeah,
it would be neat if they talked to the spiders though. If you're buying all that stuff, it would be good for it to work together.
There is also a Spider-Man goggle set that you put on, and it looks like these Spider-Man eyes. And there's a button on the side that it'll light up.
Expressions,
I will say that's a cool piece of merchandise. It doesn't have any set. At least I haven't been able to find out. Like I press it 6 times and it does the down eyebrows, or I press it 5. It's kind of just running through it until you get the one you want, which is a little disappointing, I guess. But those are the big ticket Spider-Man things, I think. So,
Yeah, I think it also it's worth noting, I was super surprised that they were doing a Spider-Gwen Ghost Spider edition, which is not in the MCU currently.
Maybe it's an Easter egg for things to come, or maybe it's just exploiting every character that they can think of.
There's also...
Oh, go ahead. You might be saying the same thing.
I think we're going to say the same thing.
The graffiti that is done by Miles Morales on the side of the wall. And I also think Miles is name-checked in signage inside the web slingers ride as well.
Yeah, he has a locker.
Yeah.
Multiverse confirmed.
I mean,
Doctor Strange is right across the street from where that thing is, so it's entirely possible.
And then Loki is in with the TVA, and that's a whole thing.
So I know you didn't get a chance to see the Doctor Strange show in person. But I've watched the video, and I'm wondering if next time you're there, if you could ask him if he could do a child's birthday party, because I think he's got that down pat. Like I think he could make some real money. You know,
it's just, that show is a little. I haven't watched all the full show videos of that. I've watched like the clips that they gave us. But I remember we were talking about like patents a couple years ago. They came out with a patent for basically a spinny thing on your arms that could make it look like he was putting up the shield. Yeah. And I expected that to be a part of it at some point. Even if the rest is parlor tricks, like one of those would be the wow moment.
Having watched the videos of there, I don't think there's a trick in there that was patented after 1872.
They couldn't even make him come through like the portal. He just like stands in front of the screen and is fighting Dormammu. Like
it is a cool screen though. I mean, I'd take that screen in my house. That's a high quality screen.
I will say that area, especially at night, it looks gorgeous, and I'm excited to kind of see that lit up and things the next time I'm down there. But as for the magic show, they do have the magic shop on Main Street right across the way. Yeah. I'm sure they just have a lot of stock they needed to.
I think that might be where he gets his material from.
Yeah, I didn't. So I didn't get to see that. But the set for that is really neat. I think it does fit in. I know a lot of people were worried about like, oh, why is there just an ancient sanctum here next to this automotive plant, which is the backstory for the line. But it does the ride, excuse me. But it does fit in kind of aesthetically with the rest of the land, which was nice. So, yeah.
And there's some gorgeous detail work in the stonework, the craftsmanship that's gone into this land. It's more, it's not as flashy, but there's a lot of really subtle aging stuff that's gone in. And did you see the Kirby Crackle?
I did see the Kirby Crackle over by Guardians. Yeah. I will say I won't be surprised if in the nearest future, maybe as a part of a phase 2, they do redesign the area where Guardians is, because it's a very jarring still going from the Tivian Tower to Hollywood Land in 2 steps compared to how.
And speaking of that transition, what has become of the red car trolley? Does it still have an exit there? Is this track still exist?
The tracks go through Avengers Campus into a garage door in the building where the ride for Phase 2 is supposed to go. I asked my media consultant while I was there if they were still planning on running it. She said she wasn't sure, but she didn't think so because of crowds and things right now.
I hope it comes back someday.
I do too. I love that. I think it makes Buena Vista Street feel so much more alive when it's not.
Absolutely.
When it's running. Yeah. But you could potentially also, like I said, make it fit in somehow because it is supposed to be an old Stark automotive factory. And so it would make sense for the tracks to go in there. But
yeah. About the entertainment, you weren't able to see any while you visited, but I'm sure you've seen videos and things. Does it take away at all seeing like the wires attached to them? Because obviously, like they are human, they can't do all of these superhero-y things. But I think it's still a lot of people still seem to be disappointed that Spider-Man has to get hooked up to wires to climb down a wall.
So I feel like that is just people complaining for the sake of complaining. Like, how many times have we watched like the Waterworld stunt show over at Universal or Indiana Jones, where you see them? Like Indiana Jones, the whole conceit is that it is a movie set, so they stop and set things up, and you see all that. So there's a suspension of disbelief that has to happen when you're into these lands. And
I don't think it's fair to criticize him for needing wires to not die.
Yeah.
He's still a human being. But I do think it's fair to say that while that robotic animatronic stunt performer is incredible, the script that has been written around that show is kind of clunky and not very well paced, and it gives the audience time to think, why is he just standing there talking instead of climbing down the wall.
Tumbling over boxes.
Yeah, I mean, especially, they should be doing a better like Texas switch when he comes down the wall, and then there's that long pause before he can come out. There's better ways of choreographing all that, and hopefully, with time and rehearsal, maybe some of that'll get tightened up.
So one of the things too in the land that they pointed out to me is it kind of has the same issue that Toy Story Land has in Hollywood Studios, where the trees haven't grown in yet a lot, so they're all very small. So part of me also wonders, especially in that Spider-Man, Texas switch, if there will be a tree there that grows up a little bit and that is also further blocking the line of sight that you have of that.
That could help.
Yeah,
that could help.
So.
Yeah. Well, overall, your thoughts? Are you disappointed?
I wouldn't say I'm disappointed. It's a good addition to California Adventure. When everything you're able to walk through, it'll help the flow of that park a lot. And I mean, Spider-Man is a C ticket, and the park always needs more of those. Like everything can't be an E ticket. I think once they open it up to standby lines, hopefully that'll happen sooner than later. I mean, who knows? But that will help eat some people up in California Adventure, because especially when they're doing the food festivals, those walkways get very congested. And so the more things for people to do, I think the better.
I wonder if they'll have food festival stalls, but like Marvel food.
That would be pretty good. Someone brought up the possibility, because now California Adventure is the Halloween park, or at least it was in 2019. That's where they did the Oogie Boogie Bash. Could they do a Marvel villain thing there, which I think would be really cool.
Oh, that would be awesome. Yeah, so there's definitely, other than Loki, we really don't have any villain representation. And villains matter too.
Of course. They've got that old, what's the giant snow monster from Frozen? Puppet from when they had the Frozen version of the Mad Tea Party a couple years ago. You could turn that to Thanos with just a coat of purple paint. It's fine.
Scary.
We'll get them right on that.
We'll get see if we could throw Mysterio in there.
Perfect.
Yeah, that would be so great. I have one final question to ask you.
Only one?
Well, this one.
I have so many. I could go on forever, but I'm going to stop.
Okay, so for the virtual queue, you can only pick Rise of the Resistance or Web Slingers of Spider-Man Adventure. You can't do both. Which one would you pick?
I mean, you have to go with Rise of the Resistance. It's like a god tier ride. Not getting on that, I think, would be the disappointment today. Not getting on Spider-Man would be, we'll see it next time. So
valid.
Well, it's going to be tough when I'm out there I have 5 days in the park, and I'm going to have to prioritize Web Slinger, because I can ride Rise of the Resistance, once a month here if I try really hard. Whereas I don't have an option of riding Web Slingers here in Orlando. So
that is true.
That's going to be my 7 a.m. every day that I'm going to the park.
I will say, just based on my looking at social media, I've seen people get lucky at that noon drop time for for Web Slingers.
Right.
And so I don't know if maybe because the ride isn't as hyped as Rise of the Resistance, people are prioritizing one over the other, so it's a little easier to get on there. So,
all right.
I bet you're going to come back with like Avengers Campus hat, web shirt, a backpack with a spider bot in it, 2 power bands, 1 on each hand.
And before we go, just to clarify, because we had a question in our chat, there is supposed to be another e-ticket. They announced an e-ticket that would take you to Wakanda. There was some concept art. It sort of looked like you would ride in a Quinjet with a bunch of other people, and then it would somehow break apart, and you would have an individual flying ride vehicle that would take you around a big battle. That was a few years old. We don't know where that is in development, so don't hold your breath for that one.
I will say positive news. I want to say, I don't remember if it was Josh DeMauro or Chapek. One of them did say all of our plans are still going on. Like nothing has been canceled. So,
but there's no announced date for that. There's no expectation when that could open.
Yeah. Thank you so much for letting us pester you with questions. And
my pleasure. Anytime.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Yes.
Of course. Thanks, guys.
And before we go, just for Seth's return this week, we have some listener thank yous to
Oh,
share.
yay!
Yay! They heard me complaining and yelling at them to sign up while you were gone. In case you don't know, Attractions Magazine has a 4-tier subscription service, and if you pick the club or VIP tiers, the week after you subscribe, you get a shout out on the podcast. So this week, we are sending big thank yous to Ernest Kobayashi and Jonathan Wall. Thank you so
Thank you.
Yay! Thank you.
And now that you've done that, I get to do something that I have been waiting for weeks and weeks to do, which is remind everyone to please head on over to Apple Podcasts and give us 5 stars. Please give us a review. It really helps us reach new people and helps share the love of Attractions Magazine with everyone all over the world. And if you want to feel more Attractions Magazine love, you can find me on the internet webs. On Twitter, on Instagram, at @skuberski, or at the UG Series on Twitter, or at theunofficialguides.com. And Brittany, where can they find you and Attractions Magazine?
They can find me at Brittany Tuttle. That's BRITTANITUTTLE. Yes, it's spelled funny, on Twitter and Instagram, where I've just shared my reaction to the first 2 episodes of Loki. Full review coming soon.
Ooh.
Yeah. As well as every day
Jealous.
at attractionsmagazine.com, at attractions on Twitter, at attractions magazine on Instagram, and youtube.com/attractionsmagazine, where you've been with us for the past hour and 20 minutes.
Oh my gosh. I had to make up for being gone for so long.
You really did.
You missed me. You really missed me.
I did. And until next week, I hope you guys stay safe, wear your mask, wash your hands, get vaccinated if you haven't already, and we will see you next time.
Bye.